Time to kick off on ChinnyVision with FA Cup football. Yes, it's the FA Cup this weekend, and ChinnyVision is going to cash in on this event because, well, it's actually 2018, and I've missed the 2018 FA Cup. So I'm now going to edit in who is playing this weekend. It's Manchester City versus Watford, now back to a year ago. So yeah, I didn't manage to cash in, but hey ho, this video is now being done and going to be released next year. And FA Cup football, well, the FA Cup is a cup competition in the UK. Process of elimination it actually starts in like September or October, with some of the smallest clubs in the country playing each other. It's a knockout competition. At each various stages, bigger clubs come in. Then you get to what's called the third round, where the biggest clubs in the country join in. So in theory, you can actually, via this process of elimination, have tiny clubs progress through, and then they end up in the third round getting thrashed 20-0 or something by a huge club. It's called the magic of the cup. Concept by Tony Williams, programmed by A. Adams and Kerrion UK Limited. And we're starting off on the CPC, and this came on a flippy cassette if you had a Spectrum or an Amstrad, with the Spectrum on side A and the Amstrad on side B. And it's the official FA Cup football game, so it's got the England logos and all the FA Cup, FA logos, football associations. You can have up to 1 to 8 players and take it in turns, and you can add your own teams if you wish. And first of all, you select the teams. And if you're thinking, that's the standard Amstrad CPC font, yes, it is. I'm not saying this game is completely coded in BASIC, but I suspect large parts of it are coded in BASIC. On the C64, you have a very similar interface. Again, 1 to 8 players. My mates and I used to play this against each other. And we used to go and play football when the thing was doing all the matches. And then we'd run back and continue the game. We can enter in our own team if we want to. And the teams are listed alphabetically, or you can let the computer select what teams you want. There is a difference in performance between the teams. So if you select load teams like Aldershot, and that's the old Aldershot before they went bankrupt in 1992, bit of football trivia for you there, then they won't do very well. You need the big teams. On the Specky, again, 1 to 8 players. Enter your new teams if you wish. And again, all it does, I think it knocks out one of the computer team, or one of the random smaller teams, and puts your team in. But yeah. Also, the Spectrum version appears to abbreviate a lot of the names. So Bournemouth, we can't have the O and U in Bournemouth, no. And yeah, these will be 9086/7 performance levels. So if you're going to select Bournemouth, they're basically going to get thrashed. So you can choose to start off in a lower level of the competition. We're going to start off in round 3 because we don't want to die of old age before we've played the game. And you'll see why you're going to die of old age, because this happens every time and you can't skip it. It's supposed to be like a video printer on TV for the actual draw. And it's in mode 2 here on the Amstrad. And it will tell you when it's one of your teams by putting your initials next to it. So Telford is my team, Grimsby is my team as well. On the 64 here. I'm going to pass round 3 on all of the versions. And what it will do is it will automatically knock out some of the teams as well. So you won't get all your teams through to round 3. So if you have selected, say, Aldershot, because it's number 1 up there, there's a good chance you won't actually make it through to round 3. Amstrad version is still going. And then we get to team formations. And you've got to watch the computer select all its formations. There are only 3 to choose from. And then eventually you get to U, and you've got to select A, B or C. No more than that, just 3 of the formations. Exeter versus Oxford. Player CH, that's me. I'm going to select balanced. And on C64, it will actually show you on the screen what you have selected, whereas on the Spectrum and Amstrad, it does not. So I selected B there. And if you're playing 2-player or 3-player, 4-player, up to 8 players, it will just stop each time for each of the players. It could be quite good as a kind of group game, but your inputs are somewhat limited. Specky looks very similar to the Amstrad version, although it doesn't use the system font on the... So I wonder if they've actually converted across the AMS, because that looks like the Amstrad system font, or very similar. So the games play, and you can speed up the clock by holding down the spacebar. In the earlier rounds, it doesn't even stop at half time, it just whizzes straight through. When it gets to later rounds, you get to select tactics at half time, and then finally at a quarter of the way through the game as well. There's nothing you can do here other than sit here and wait for it to get to full time. And your influence on the game is limited. It's so... Basically, the computer does what it wants, and you've got very limited input into the game. And yeah, if any of the teams draw, you have replays. No penalties, nothing like that. No extra time. It just keeps on replaying forever and ever and ever. Round 3 replays. I've got Grimsby and QPR on the C64 here. Right, so we're now in round 6, about 15-20 minutes on from where we started. Yes, this game takes quite a while, and that's why you start at round 3 rather than round 1. And in real life, you have preliminary rounds as well, but goodness me, how long would it take? And you start to get me asked questions. So, heavy rain is forecast. What type of stud should you wear? And now there are only 8 teams playing, and I've got 2, is it 2 in there? Got Southampton, and it's half time. It will tell you what your last tactic was. Basically, if you pick the right teams and don't make any really stupid decisions, which it's hard to, you will get some teams through to the later stage of the game, providing, as I say, they were First Division teams at the time. And the screen draw is so slow, yeah, you do think there's got to be a significant amount of basic involved. The whole game's so slow. And now you can actually select substitutes, but you can only do this in later stages of the game. So we're through to the semi-final. We've got Liverpool versus Sorry, let me do it properly. Liverpool versus Manchester United. Sheffield Wednesday versus Southampton. So you select, and you've got a manager's question here. The opposing player has been sent off as a result of an incident that's been provoked by a player from your own team. Do you insist your player attends any disciplinary hearing, pretend that nothing's happened, or tell everyone you agree with the decision? And this, how you answer this question, will influence how your team plays. Also, you can be given information during the tactic selection screen, but the information is always completely useless. It's things like, ticket touts have been selling tickets for your game, or the goal nets have been stolen, or something really stupid. There's no actually tactical information that comes through, that things that say like, oh, the striker of the opposing team is ill, or something like that. It's always completely useless information. I think this game has been coded as quickly as possible to cash in on the FA Cup at the last minute. You don't even get to see the teams play like you can on Football Manager. How better would it be? Although you've got so many teams, why do you have to have 8 teams? Why can't you guide just one team? Is it that you stand so much of a chance of losing, they want to give you 8 teams to try and get through to the end of the thing? You know, okay, computer games are finding their way at this time, but I just don't get who this is aimed at and how much longevity there is here, because you've got so few inputs into how you play the game. So Southampton have beaten Coventry City in the semi-final on the Spectrum. So now we're going to go through to finally we get some sound. We get Abide With Me. and it says the weather is very wet. What impact it being wet has on the game, I don't know. There's no parameters that you can alter that would, can you say, yeah, right lads, put in some long studs because it's going to be slippery? You can't. No, it's just completely superfluous information to make you feel like this game is more detailed when it isn't, when you've got so little input into the game. I'd love someone to take this game apart and find out how it all works, because I bet it just works on a few random parameters. A tactical question for player Chinny Hill. Again, these might, or probably don't. They probably have no influence at all. I'm not going to go sit through another 25 minutes, half hour of this game to find out. And on the final, you can't speed up time as well. So if you're sitting here watching two computer players playing each other, which is a very good chance, cramp is affecting players on both sides. What difference does this make? It doesn't make any difference. I can't do anything about it. I could perhaps elect a substitute in the final quarter. But, and I'm playing myself anyway. So I've won. I mean, we're going to finish this now. This is absolutely bonkers. I've won FA Cup Football the game, and I haven't even completed it yet. Over to the C64, and the SID chip is really straining at the leash with this tune, and the weather is also very wet. I wonder if the weather is always very wet. Who knows? I've got Liverpool, and the computer's got Southampton. An important key player suffers a family bereavement, and the funeral is the day before an important match. An important match was the FA Cup final. 1, 2, 3. It's 3, isn't it? And I've got to answer another question now. It's like an exam. It's like an exam. Oh, this is terrible. And we're already 27 minutes in. We're already winning 2-0. Ball control is being spoiled by sudden gusts of wind. I can't influence I cannot influence any of this. I can't do anything. Why give me information that I can't use? And just to make things worse, I can't play the final on the Spectrum because the game's crashed whilst playing Abide With Me. We all need to abide with me with this game. On the CPC, I have won with Everton 2, Southampton 1. As I say, I'd won a long time ago, but I've got to sit through this anyway. The FA Cup winners are Everton. Woo. In the grand pantheon of absolutely rubbish football management games, FA Cup football is very notable. It's an official game. It's probably one of the first official management games licensed by the FA, and it's the same game on all the systems. You can't really pull these apart. They all play the same, but then again they're all probably programmed in BASIC and just ported line by line. Your input to the game is extremely limited. Much will depend on what selections you make at the start of the game in terms of the quality of the teams. Beyond that, the game offers you all sorts of information, but you can't use any of it, and it's just a question of waiting around while things happen, and believe you me, things happen slowly. This is an incredibly lazy football management simulation that promises a lot, delivers absolutely nothing, and in the era, you're far, far better off with Football Manager.